Now it's recording. Anyways, what were you saying? Say it again.
Doing this show has taught me how bad people are at reading or listening to something and understanding the point of what was being said. We get a lot of folks trying to argue with us, and then it's very clear from what they're saying that they don't even understand what we said. They're trying to argue against some shit that we didn't say all the time.
Yeah, they're arguing with points that we didn't even make.
But I also think that there is a correlation between how stupid you are and how vocal you are. I feel like most of the people who listen to the show and just get it and think it's funny have probably never left a comment on anything that we've ever posted.
Other than, I love you guys. You're so funny. This is so great. I totally fucking agree with you.
There's no way that anyone who would say that actually understands us either.
That's probably true. Yeah, the ones that really, really get it are just laughing to themselves in their car. Not saying shit. What is that though? That's a thing, right? Like where people have an idea. You say, oh, I hate X. They just fill in the gaps. They'll argue points that you're not even talking about. Like that's a thing.
Or they find a way to attach it to something that they believe to be true. Or that they also dislike. They think if you're a person who disagrees with them, then they start assigning other qualities about other people that they don't like to you.
Right.
Which is why we get called Trump supporters and Bernie Sanders supporters, full spectrum of pick a politician that the person talking to us doesn't like.
Yeah.
We must vote for that person.
Oh, you don't like this, therefore you're all of these things.
All right, last time we covered the Eminem shit show up to the point where after trying for several years to get adults to go insane over the content of his lyrics, Eminem finally caught a little real smoke from one old white lady. And that was, in fact, the only significant event he was ever involved in on the outrage front. Lynn Cheney got mad at him. The end. But here's the thing. Even if Eminem had been successful in getting everyone over the age of 35 to hate him like a bastard, there is still a very short shelf life for that type of act. Shock value doesn't last very long. It's only shocking for a while and then everyone's seen it, Andy, we've seen your cock, put it away. Just look at the career trajectory of Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson's third album was the best-selling album he ever released. His next album after that, released in the normal album cycle, his follow-up album sold about 1/3 as many copies, which made it the worst-selling album he had ever released up to that point.
Portrait of American Family 94, Antichrist Superstar 96. 2 years later was Mechanical Animals, which was immediately went off a cliff.
And the reason he fell off that quickly is that is an example of how fast the shock rock act gets old. And it gets old for everyone too. I'm not even talking about only the fans of it. It's not just the fans who get sick of it. It's the haters too. Eventually the haters are going to say, all right, you're still doing it. Fine. I'm gonna go do something else then. Whatever. You keep doing it, I guess. The thing about hate on that level is it involves a lot of what is essentially prophecy. If this is allowed, then the next thing is going to be this, and this. And then when all of those horrible nightmare scenarios never happen, you got to figure out something else to write on a sign besides the end is near.
Mechanical Animals, I feel like, was kind of like his pivot to trying not to necessarily just be shock. Antichrist Superstar, the literal album was called Antichrist Superstar. Like it was, artwork was way over the top. It was creepy and weird. And then Mechanical Animals was just kind of like this weird.
Yeah, I'm going to be the band Orgy now.
Right. Yeah. Seriously.
Orgy shows don't get boycotted like mine. So I'm going to do their act. Now, we're going to talk about Marilyn Manson for a long time right now. We're probably never going to do a Marilyn Manson episode of this show for a lot of extremely obvious reasons. Manson is directly relevant to Eminem's career. So we should talk about it a lot for the people who weren't there, because much like Eminem, I would assume that anyone who wasn't there has no clue how this actually went down. Manson came out of the gate with this act that was entirely about being obscene and disgusting. We're talking like Sex Pistols levels of the music is not the point. No one's coming to these shows to see good music. They're coming to see if he's going to piss on the guitar player this time, or like which one of them's going to drink the other one's piss. A lot of pee stuff, a lot of blood stuff.
Yeah.
Probably some poo-poo, a mild PG-13 Gigi Allen routine.
Yeah, I was just
kinda.
gonna say, yes, Gigi Allen sitting in the corner, like, what the fuck, dude? I was doing all this shit way before you guys. Like, I threw my shit into the fucking crowd. What, you guys are pissing on each other? I pissed in my own mouth. Like, this is bullshit. Don't look up Gigi Allen unless you want to be traumatized.
Yeah, he wasn't just beating up people in the band.
No, he was way ahead of the curve with the shock. Yeah, I mean, God bless, though. The world was so different in the 90s. It was so
innocent
different.
compared.
It was.
The internet hadn't gotten as fully fucking nuts as it would soon get. It was on the way there, and there was some weird shit. You know, you could get sent a link to Lemon Party or Goatsy or something, and that might ruin your day. If you send either of those things to someone now, there's going to be like, where's the joke? What's funny about this?
It was like Faces of Death, but you had to go to the video store to watch Faces of Death. The craziest thing might be you would be in a chat room with a bunch of guys pretending to be women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Talking about finger fucking each other, but they're just a bunch of dudes. It was nothing compared to obviously what it is now. I don't think that anybody would give a shit if Marilyn Manson came out now. It would be like, dude, you're boring. Like, I've seen crazier shit on my cell phone. By 10 a.m., I've already seen crazier shit.
Marilyn Manson was able to come out with this Gigi Allen light act, and a bunch of losers thought it was crazy and insane and awesome. But one of the main reasons they thought that is because a bunch of even bigger losers thought it meant Marilyn Manson was actually evil. Legitimately evil incarnate.
Yeah.
I think it would be impossible to overstate how literal this belief was.
If you wore a Marilyn Manson shirt in between 1995 and say 1998, people legitimately thought you were a witch, worshipped Satan. No joke. Not like jokingly, not like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Like really thought that you were a Satanist, you would eat babies, and you were a complete, utter psychopath.
Old ladies would see you coming down the street and cross to the other side.
100%.
Not joking. If there was a mom with a small child, she would cover the kid's eyes.
Yeah.
So that he physically couldn't fucking see you. They were afraid of you like the actual Antichrist was headed their direction. Mm-hmm. And the data suggests the vast majority of kids in those Marilyn Manson shirts were not wearing them for the music. If they were there for the music, it was the best music they'd ever heard, and they wanted to spend the rest of their lives listening to that music, and that's what it was all about, they would have kept buying the music because he didn't really change it. And the reason they didn't is because the music is not why they were there. They were there because this became a social movement.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson became a social movement that happened to have music as a part of it. Nobody ever went to Occupy Wall Street, saw the drum circles happening, and said, holy fuck, all these people are here because they love listening to drums. But that's exactly the same kind of stupid you would need to be to think Marilyn Manson's actual music was ever really that important in the grand scheme of all the things that happened around Marilyn Manson's music.
The music was absolutely a side piece.
It was just the soundtrack to being an edgelord.
Exactly. Maybe you bought the CD, but really it was like, I'm going to buy this shirt. And then God forbid you got to see him live at the time. He was going to do some way over the top shit, which again, in the late 90s, some guy standing on stage, ripping up a Bible and lighting it on fire was probably some of the craziest shit that a majority of the country had ever seen ever.
This was a genre of news article at the time. What has Marilyn Manson done at his latest concert? There are probably dozens of articles that are just about something he did at a concert.
I mean, they were trying to get shows canceled. There were literally people protesting outside. And it wasn't just extremist. It was normal, everyday mom and dad. It wasn't just like the Westboro Baptist Church standing outside, maybe a show you'd see today.
They were there, sure, but it was also a lot of other people too.
Your normal, everyday church person, so many people, everything that he did, everything, everywhere that he went, it was completely insane. And obviously that's basically why he had a career, because nobody could shut up about him.
Absolutely.
The more they talked, the bigger he got. You know, kids are rebellious and they're like, oh, my mom doesn't like this music. Well, what is it? I'm intrigued. I'm going to buy this CD. You know, it motivates you to maybe check it out.
If you saw a kid wearing a Marilyn Manson shirt, you knew what you needed to know about that kid because that kid was trying to tell you by wearing the shirt. He's trying to make sure you understood he's in the club. He's in the club of losers who decided the most interesting thing they could do with their own lives was scare a bunch of other losers who become terrified anytime they see this kid in a Marilyn Manson shirt. That's the entire thing. And that's what Eminem wanted to have happen and never had happen. And if you weren't there, this Marilyn Manson stuff was fucking insane. It was about 50 times crazier than anything Eminem has ever been associated with. Concerts canceled all over the country, politicians declaring war on him specifically, individually. Multiple national level politicians being like, we got to ban this guy. And they were trying to ban him. They were trying to ban his albums from being sold. There was never an organized effort against Eminem like this. This was like one of the original QAnon things, practically. Politicians claiming that Manson did animal sacrifices at his concerts, human sacrifices were alluded to. There was an organized movement against this guy to the degree I'm surprised nobody tried to assassinate him.
Right. So, but what you know as a meme did not exist. For word to travel from school to school that Marilyn Manson supposedly got his rib removed so he could suck his own dick.
Yeah.
That
didn't happen on Twitter.
Right. This is before everyone had the internet in their pocket. That's how big it was that stories could travel from school to school, neighborhood to neighborhood.
That's not even the only urban legend that got spread about Marilyn Manson. There are fucking dozens of them. The one that he was secretly the kid on Wonder Years or whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone who was there remembers these tidbits that were supposedly true about this guy. Eminem just never had that word of mouth thing, but his entire output was built around pretending that he was the same thing. I have this power over your kids that guy had. He's like screaming it at you. Marilyn Manson doesn't have songs where he is complaining directly to you about all these people hating on him. He doesn't have to pretend that the Bible thumpers are trying to cancel him because pretty much anyone who left their house could see an example of it happening right in front of you. If you went to go buy something at the mall, there was going to be a group of weird Marilyn Manson kids at some point. You were going to get to see someone freak out at them.
Yeah. This was also at the tail end, really, of grunge music and pre-hip hop ruling the world. Actually, it would have been pop ruling the world. Rock music was still really popular in the mid 90s into the late 90s.
So this ties into something that we talked about in the last episode, which is the East Coast, West Coast gangster rap thing. Tupac and Biggie get shot. That's basically the end of gangster rap. No one wants to be next in line to be the next gangster rapper who gets shot. So rap has this moment where it becomes pop, and Puff Daddy is very centric to that. This is when they call it the shiny suit era. Everyone's music videos had to look like the new millennium was coming and we were all going to be living in the future all of a sudden. So everyone's wearing like silver trash bags in their music videos and dancing around like this. Very much a return to the Motown era of black entertainment in the pop space. So yeah, rap and rock were both headed towards this convergence of everyone just wants to kind of have a good time now, man. We were all freaking out over this Marilyn Manson guy bringing the apocalypse about with his actions. And then, you know, all these grunge dudes are dying like flies.
Dude, they were dropping.
And then rappers are shooting each other. What about party music?
Right.
Can we get back to some party music? And that's sort of what happened. But Eminem didn't want that. Eminem wanted to have the chaos keep happening with him at the center of the storm. But no one wanted it, which is why the only success that Eminem was actually able to have was with his court jester clown show. The Slim Shady singles where he's making fun of celebrities. And just to like neatly tie all this together and transition us into the next segment of the episode, Columbine is also a huge part of the Marilyn Manson story. He never had to like make the controversy the central point of his music the way that Eminem did, but he did lean into the controversy by acting even more obscene and doing more of the things that he did, which antagonized everyone who did hate him so much. He comes out with an album called Antichrist Superstar. Everyone who already hated him, it now completely loses their minds. Then when the Columbine massacre happens, the first thing those people do is blame Marilyn Manson individually. This is his actual individual fault. They had worked themselves into such a panic over everything that this guy did and all of the supposedly horrific consequences it would have to all of modern society that as soon as they found out some kids murdered a bunch of other kids at a school, all of these people immediately said, this must be the fault of that guy that I already hate.
Right.
Right? This must be the fault of that guy. If these people got rear-ended in traffic, do they fucking Marilyn Manson?
Yeah. I'd like to think that that was actually happening.
That asshole was listening to Marilyn Manson. You know he was. Don't laugh at me. He was listening to Marilyn Manson and not paying attention to the road.
You didn't even have to wear a Marilyn Manson shirt after that. It was like if you wore black and you looked different, you had long hair or something like that, people were going to look at you sideways because they legitimately, there was a very big cross-section of America, if not a majority of Americans, that blamed Marilyn Manson. It was as if he was walking.
Did you shake my beer up?
No, I should have. Oh, you had it spill. Oh, my God.
I didn't spill it. It spilled on me. I fucking knew you did this on purpose.
It's a new day in America.
Mark fucking sabotaged me.
I did,
so he wouldn't be the one to spill his drink on this episode.
Me, that was supposed to be my beer. See, I think you were trying to sabotage me. I didn't spill the beer this time. I have one left.
Mark,
so we'll see.
Mark, place the beers over here. Okay, so these people blame Marilyn Manson for Columbine and continue running with that story even after it comes out as an objective fact. The shooters at Columbine were not only not fans of Marilyn Manson, they hated his music. There was record of these guys hating Marilyn Manson's music. Did not stop all of these freaking weirdos from blaming this guy for some kids shooting some other kids. So then what happens next is nothing. Marilyn Manson is never unmasked as the devil because that's never what he was. He was just some loser that wanted to make everyone look at his gross ass as revenge for being picked on high school. And when I say gross ass, I mean literally. There was an outfit where he had a butt cut out like Prince.
Yeah.
Just a really gross, weird cottage cheese.
It was weird.
But
what a weird time.
That's the worst thing he did on a stage, probably.
Yeah.
No animal sacrifices or anything else. Obviously a shit human being, but we don't need to really go into that.
Yeah,
it's not
Marilyn
relevant.
Manson sucks. There you go. There's your Marilyn Manson episode.
Yep. So all the frenzy wears off and it's just a bunch of Marilyn Manson fans on this side and alleged child abusers from the Westboro Baptist Church on this side and a bunch of normal people over here and everyone's standing around looking at each other. Well, okay, nothing has actually happened here. So what are we going to do now? What Eminem wanted to do was slide right in there and be like, me, I'm the new one. He wanted everyone to say, all right, that skinny goth nerd didn't wind up being the real Antichrist, but this guy who raps about killing his wife might be even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn Chaney aside, Eminem completely failed to make that happen. But even if he had gotten his wish, even if Eminem did successfully inherit the entire Marilyn Manson shit show, if you fast forward a couple years in that timeline, it's the same thing all over again. Everyone would have been standing in groups, looking around at each other. This idiot from Detroit isn't actually going to do anything. So now what? Most of them would have felt embarrassed, falling for essentially a carny act, whether that was them buying the albums or freaking out over the albums. Can we all agree to pretend that this never happened?
If you zoom in for a second and really look at the timeline, Manson's on his decline as Eminem is kind of spinning up. Eminem basically juices ICP's career, which again, at the time, maybe not as nationally well-known, but like regionally well-known. It's like he just took... Maybe he's just really brilliant at marketing and was like, okay, wait, I think
Interscope was really brilliant.
Yeah.
No matter what, Eminem was always going to have to move away from that. If he wanted to stay any kind of relevant, he was going to have to move away from the shock rock act and drop the Slim Shady act. He was going to have to get serious, which is what Stan was, the song Stan. Do you remember when Eminem came out with Stan and every music critic on the planet glazed him for it as if he was secretly a genius? Like, oh my God, I can't believe that this dude was capable of this the entire time.
Yeah.
You would have thought that a monkey had invented the cure for cancer, the way music critics were calling Eminem a genius for Stan.
Let's also just be honest. He's fucking white. I mean, come on. To ignore the reality of this is, I don't like to talk about that stuff. Typically, I don't.
I also think that he had set a really low bar for himself by what he had done up to that point. I mean, it's almost as if all you really need to do is spend a couple years pretending to be a whacked out moron with 2 brain cells and then come out with a high school drama level skit and everyone will think that you were secretly a true artist.
Sure.
So here's the other thing with Stan. Everyone now seems to recall it being this huge hit song. Man, I remember you couldn't go anywhere without hearing the song Stan. Completely made up memory. Like they couldn't go shopping at Abercrombie without hearing Stan or some shit. This song was not played everywhere because it's 7 fucking minutes long.
Yeah.
You cannot cut off half of a 7-minute song, like Stan at least, for radio without rendering it senseless. The radio edit of Stan was still 5.5 minutes long. Radio stations were not playing this song. Once again, you just saw this video on MTV all the time. This song was an actual hit in a lot of other countries, not the United States, a lot of other countries around the world. In the United States, it did not even make it into the top half of the Hot 100. This bitch didn't even hit top 40, all right? So, by the way, once again, the Wikipedia page will tell all the keyboard warriors out there that the Stan single went quadruple platinum. It fucking did not. Once again, that certification didn't happen until 2 years ago. As of the recording of this episode, that shit didn't happen until 2 years ago, and it's because of streaming data, made up trash.
What is the equivalent? I can't think of one personally. What is the equivalent of MTV? You have to understand, this is like a cultural phenomenon. This is what every kid in America watched every waking second they were allowed to have the TV on. They watched fucking MTV, and maybe some jocks watched ESPN. That is literally the only thing that you would watch when you were a teenager.
There wasn't programming that was aimed toward you on other channels yet. If you were in that demographic, you had very few options and you had no other options outside of the box, the TV box.
Right.
Now, there are very few TV shows that you can just go walk up to a stranger and start talking to them with the assumption that they have seen it. Yeah, you could find a ton of people who've seen Mad Men, but that doesn't mean everyone you meet outside your house has watched Mad Men.
Sure.
If Mad Men came out 30 years earlier, you could go wait on a bus and just turn to the guy next to you and be like, so last night's Mad Men, huh? Because it was all there was to watch. Now you can watch fucking anything that's ever happened.
And if you were in high school, all of your compatriots were watching MTV. That's just what everyone did. Again, because yes, you're right. It was geared towards a younger demographic. And then eventually it turned into Real World, Road Rules, and all the other things.
Yeah, it went reality.
And then it stopped playing music. But when it played music, it was a cultural phenomenon. And if you watched it and they played this Eminem video over and over and over again, that's actually what you're remembering.
There were videos that were played on MTV that also happened to be hits off of MTV, real actual musical hits that people paying attention to music and not even necessarily watching MTV knew about, loved, paid money for, etc. It's not as if all the songs on MTV were not musical hits. Eminem songs, not musical hits. Sorry.
There's plenty of artists actually that wouldn't exist without MTV launching their career. But they, NSYNC, for example, Backstreet Boys, there were so many artists launched through MTV, but then actually went on to have radio hits.
We have discussed this in previous episodes. If for some fucking reason you're watching this as the first Eminem episode, don't. You're dumb. Go back and start from the beginning. Just like the previous album, the only song off the Marshall Mathers LP that was really a hit is the one with the word Slim Shady in the chorus and the music video making fun of all the celebrities. Stan and all 3 of the other singles from the Marshall Mathers LP, all of them tanked at US radio. So no matter what you think you remember or the narrative Eminem hoped to establish with his pivot to seriousness, to nearly everyone, Eminem was just a novelty act. Eminem was Weird Al as a white kid rapper from Detroit. That's it. That's what everyone thought of this guy as, unless you watched MTV or were a music critic, apparently. And then you thought that he was secretly a genius pretending to be a Weird Al rapper from Detroit. So here's what is interesting about Stan, though. This is one of the very few songs in this period when Eminem, as a lyricist, wasn't doing his typical lyrical miracle thing. All of that gibberish that he's spitballing in all his other songs, it's not there in Stan. Just like it wasn't there in the stuff he wrote for Dr. Dre. Is your drink gonna explode now?
No, it's foaming up. It's foaming up.
I wonder what happened with mine.
How dare you accuse me?
Writing the story of Dr. Dre, writing the story of this fictional fan, Eminem is somehow able to keep himself from just vomiting words onto the page. That is an interesting thing. But the only real legacy of Stan is the modern usage of that word to refer to obsessed fans. Stan culture.
Stan. Yeah, which became its own thing.
Right here is where everyone who wants to pretend that Eminem did have this gigantic impact on the culture that we're saying he didn't have. Right here is where they all jump up and go, yeah, see, Eminem was influential because everyone says Stan.
Yeah.
Calm down, children. You weren't there. You have no idea how that happened. Eminem didn't do it. Eminem released that song and fucking nobody started saying the word Stan. All he did is name a character in a song Stan. This 100% did not instantly cause everyone to start calling obsessed fans by that name. When that did happen, it happened the following year after Nas. Nas called Jay-Z a Stan as an insult in the diss track Ether. So Eminem didn't make Stan a thing that way. Nas made that a thing that way. Speaking of Nas, since a ton of Eminem stans listening to this right now believe that Eminem released the best diss track of all time with Kill Shot, there is a reason nearly anyone who knows what they're talking about considers the song Ether one of the best diss tracks of all time. Not only did Nas create the modern usage of the word Stan in that song is also the single reason we say someone got ethered when they get wrecked in any medium. If someone gets wrecked in a game of sports, we say they got ethered because of how good a rapper Nas is. Oh, and Nas did that in an insult against an actual other rapper, by the way. He wasn't playing T-ball with fucking Machine Gun Kelly or his own mom or a boy band or Christina Aguilera or any of the other non-threatening targets Eminem loves to pretend he's brave for attacking.
Nas writing a diss track to Jay-Z, I mean, I guess it would have been similar to what's happening, at least with maybe Kendrick and Drake-ish, but not really, because those dudes are different in my mind. These are two rappers doing very similar things. Real rap, I don't know. It's like, they're both from New York. Oh man, that was a crazy time. We are never doing an episode on Nas ever. I don't care.
Dude, that shit got heated.
We're not doing that. It wasn't like funny, I'm going to post this shit on YouTube and talk about how dumb you are or something like that. This is like way beyond the pale.
When Jay-Z tried to respond to Ether, Jay-Z's mom heard what he said and made Jay-Z go on the radio to apologize. For real, if y'all don't know this corner of hip-hop history, it's a pretty big corner and you should probably check it out if your day today involves like defending Eminem on the internet or whatever. Maybe go read about Ether.
Does the average Eminem fan like even actually like hip-hop though?
What do you think, man? What do you fucking think?
I think that it's a no. I wouldn't be shocked if they've never listened to Illmatic. I wouldn't be shocked. I would be like, oh, you don't actually listen to rap.
They're the guys who listen to it and go, I don't see what the big deal is.
Yes, they absolutely are. That is for sure. People that love Eminem go back and listen to classic hip hop albums and they're like, what?
Can you explain why Nas is so overrated?
Yeah. I mean, he's not even rapping fast. Like, how do you rap so slow, bro?
After the Marshall Mathers LP, Eminem's obviously going to try to keep pushing things in this direction that he needs for his career, which is to get a little bit more serious and get away from all the silly shit, at least as much as he can. But the next album he comes out with is The Eminem Show. And this is the album where he begins trying to talk about politics in a real way, not just name checking famous politicians because their names rhyme with whatever else he said, you know? He specifically started going after the George W. Bush administration, which was already a very trendy thing to do. Eminem has never been a pioneer in any field, so definitely don't get it twisted and think that he was like the first dude to start firing shots at old W. and Eminem's attempts at making political statements were about on par with how tragic it was when every other artist did it at this time. I mean, this was like a golden era of embarrassing statements on politics from people who have no idea what they're talking about. At one point, Eminem was referring to the United States of America by calling it the divided states of embarrassment. It's right up there with Green Day thinking it was insightful to use the phrase anti-social media in 2016.
Yeah, there's some boomer shit.
It is. Search the words divided states of embarrassment in quotes on Facebook. It would not surprise me if you find a post from a 65-year-old man who has never listened to an Eminem song.
Yeah, it's not really thoughtful or interesting.
The dude who would say that has a "Don't Tread on Me" sticker on his car for sure.
Also, all the way back to fucking Abraham Lincoln, you could make the comment divided states of America. Like, there was a thing called the Civil War. Wow, you got him, dude. I feel like that's a really insightful diss. This is like post 9/11 world. It's a different, I mean, there was so much crazy.
Everyone felt like they could, well, I can't pretend that didn't just happen. So I got to say something.
Right. And it was just a really weird time after. It was like everyone rallied around it, you know, America, fuck yeah, right after 9/11. But then slowly but surely it bleeds out. And the president at the time was an interesting guy. And, you know,
was he interesting?
He was something.
Despite most of the album moving towards being serious, the lead single from Eminem's Show, the song Without Me, is another Slim Shady sequel with a lot of the same lyrical miracle rigmarole. But he's also kind of straight up tells you in the song that he's only doing it because it's what most people want from him. He says, nobody wants to see Marshall no more. They want Shady. I'm chopped liver. But most of the album does move away from Slim Shady. Most of the album does try to get more serious. What's interesting about this is the further he gets from the Slim Shady character, the more the lyrical miracle tendencies also fall away. The way that he is writing these lyrics is completely different when he's trying to not do the Slim Shady character. It's almost as if he realized he needed to evolve past this moronic character, and that caused him to figure out how to grow as a lyricist as well. I don't know, these are theories, but if you look at the lyrics on the album compared to the lyrics on the previous two albums, it's like comparing the before and after of a person who just quit smoking PCP. To be clear, all I'm saying is it's an objective fact that these lyrics are more coherent. These lyrics are less full of non sequiturs than his previous style of writing. But all that means is he's hanging out on one thought for long enough to actually string some thoughts together instead of running all over the place like a gerbil with ADHD. It doesn't mean these songs are good, because they're definitely not good.
Nothing like a pivot, the career pivot of being like a certain thing, like the shock rapper or shock jock, whatever thing, and then trying to rap about politics.
Not just that either, but that's one of the things.
But also, we didn't really have any basis for it. One person in politics talks about Eminem, and now all of a sudden he's going to get serious. It doesn't make sense.
That is, I think, another interesting thing about this, which is because there isn't this actual situation that Eminem is pretending there is, he is having to come up with all this shit in a vacuum. Because there is not a movement to cancel him or anything else, after having decided to get serious as an artist, now, based on no external information, because no one really gives a fuck about anything that he's done on a serious level, based on no information, he has to come up with what he thinks people would want from a serious version of him. If he is unmasked as a serious person underneath the clown mask, what's there? And this is what he comes up with. Calling the United States of America the divided states of embarrassment, and mostly just complaining about his fucking mom. It's so weird because people really did start to, this kind of works, by the way. People did start taking him more seriously as a rapper. And a lot of that had to do with the movie 8 Mile, which is happening at the same time as the Eminem show. Sort of changed the way everyone looks at Eminem.
Yeah.
I remember the way everyone talks about this guy. Oh, Eminem, he's so cute. He's so funny. He's so cute. It goes from that to like, did you hear what he said about George Bush? All right, I'm going to listen to this album now, see what this guy's saying. Oh, is he just going to never shut the fuck up about being mad at his mom?
Especially with 8 Mile. 8 Mile was like quintessential, like,
well, it was like the documentary about why he's mad at his mom.
yes, exactly. I straight up have mommy issues.
Here's why.
Again,
here's why I said I was gonna rape her.
Without the movie and the hype that was built up around it at the time, I wonder if Eminem show would have been the real hard decline that never would have come back of his career.
Okay, I can't say it right now because that's how we're going to end this episode. And it's my absolute favorite fucking thing about Eminem's career. But for right now, we're going to put a pin because I love the answer to the question that Mark just asked. But yeah, dude mostly just wouldn't shut the fuck up about his mom. I guess you just got to write to your fan base though, right? If you want a bunch of suburban white kids to buy your album, you just complain about your parents. They will totally relate. Even if you're a fucking 30-year-old man, should have been way over it by now.
Dude, you're supposed to have gone to therapy way long ago. Mommy issues aren't supposed to continue on into your adult life.
I'm going to say 31. I'll give you an extra year into your 30s for you to realize that you're in your 30s and that you got to stop. Like, it's not about your childhood anymore.
Maybe part of it maybe is the fact that his music is awkward and shitty. It's not really played in a whole lot of clubs. So like, what's he going to rap about? Girls? 'Cause people aren't going to believe him. I can't really rap about, being on a boat and a yacht and having a good time.
Nope.
But I hate that fucking bitch, my mom. I'm going to rap about her again. How many songs can I rap about this and my ex-wife? Fuck her too. Big Pimpin' by Jay-Z just makes you want to dance and, get drunk and have a good time. What song by Eminem makes you want to do the same thing? None. Zero. I don't care what anybody says. None.
If you look at the way that the subject of moms is dealt with in the history of rap music, Eminem's choices are not in line with the trend, I would say.
Typically it's thank you, mom, for raising
dear
me.
mama.
Right. Yeah.
Moms are getting the positive shout outs in the genre. Yeah. I think he's probably the only rapper who's ever said he was going to rape his mom,
maybe.
Could be wrong about that. Not necessarily going to try to find out.
Don't remember Biggie rapping about that.
And then another thing that makes these songs bad. Okay, well, at this point, it's probably worth mentioning when it comes to the album, The Eminem Show, the fan base is divided on this album and everything that comes after it. From Eminem Show forward, it's just an argument. Slim Shady fans don't like it when Eminem tries to be serious. The fans of serious Marshall Mathers don't like it when he tries to be Slim Shady funny again. It's just this big tug of war, and it's been happening ever since he started trying to switch things up on this album. One of the things he starts doing on Eminem Show was try to get away from that high-pitched nasally voice he always used on the Slim Shady songs, which I assume he originally came up with that voice both to sound annoying, to sound like the crazy court jester character he wanted everyone to hear, but also to try to sound younger because, again, if you haven't listened to the previous episodes and are still listening to this one first like a fucking asshole, Eminem was still lying about his age to pretend to be younger. So I think that might have been why he was doing a high-pitched nasally voice. So when it comes time to pivot to seriousness, okay, we're trying to sound more serious. Let's do less nasally, sound a little older, etc. You can hear him messing around with this style of delivery right away on the album in the chorus of the first song, White America. Side note, this pivot to seriousness includes continuing to pretend he's far more influential than he actually is when it comes to impacting the behavior of his fans. No matter what he was or wasn't joking about on all of the Slim Shady stuff beforehand, he did always want everyone to believe he was very influential over the kids, both because it would make the parents more afraid of him and it would make the kids feel like they were part of something bigger, a social movement like the Marilyn Manson thing. It's my turn to have a social movement and be with all these friends, even though that never actually happens. In the song White America, he says he has, quote, an army, end quote, of people behind him who share his, quote, same exact beliefs, end quote, whatever that means. It's just like a vague, if I ran for president, I'd probably win, is sort of half-ass what he's teasing at.
A cult of Eminem. It kind of blows my mind that people like that shit. Who wants to listen to this? Why would you drive around in your car with the windows down listening to this? Oh.
Real cults exist, Mark, because this shit works every time. There are books that are written about how to do this if you want to be a piece of shit and do this. If you can't hear the difference in his voice on White America, it doesn't sound that weird to me, Tyler. I think you're wrong. Hold on to your ass for a second, because this is the album where this motherfucker decided it'd be a good idea to start singing. In case you missed it the first time around, or you have repressed these memories out of trauma, the chorus of the song Cleaning Out My Closet, that's one of the I Hate My Mom songs. Yeah. The chorus of the song Cleaning Out My Closet, if you haven't thought about that or listened to that in a while, dial it back and check that out, because it is something.
Forgot about that.
I'm sorry, Mama.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that song.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Oh, Jesus. See, the thing is, when I didn't even want to go through his whole entire catalog.
If you've never heard the Eminem song Square Dance, I would recommend just pause this right now. Go listen to that. I have no idea how to describe his delivery other than saying it sounds as if he is having a stroke. Sounds like he had a stroke in the studio and they recorded it and pitch shifted it until it sounded like words.
Again, there's so much good hip hop and good rap coming out about all through this career.
No, but we have to make an episode on Eminem.
I know, all through his career. There's so much.
We can't even shit on anyone because there's no one as overrated as this.
Oh my God, there's so much good music coming out in this time if you like hip hop. For some fucking reason, this is what stays the course. This is what becomes popular. They make a movie about him.
Then another thing that happens on the Eminem show, once his lyrics stop being so all over the place, once he stops writing lyrical miracle lyrics, it almost sounds like he's having a lot of trouble saying them. A lot of his rapping on the Eminem show comes off like someone who's not good at reading. It's not like he's just trying to read these lyrics and isn't good at reading out loud. And it's possible this happened because he realized how bad of a rapper he had always been and was trying to fix that. Now, I know calling Eminem a bad rapper point blank is already making heads explode. Probably even people listening to this and laughing about us shitting on Eminem. Whoa, what the fuck, bro? You can't call Eminem a bad rapper. Eminem has called himself a bad rapper. Yeah. By the time of the Eminem show, he was openly talking in interviews about how he could not stand to listen to the Slim Shady LP because of how bad he was at writing the beat, aka rapping. Writing the beat is rapping. It's a fact that he said this. You can go look it up. A bunch of the early reviews even mentioned this aspect of his style, but the critics were trying to give him a good review. Don't know why. Couldn't imagine why. They had to act as if Eminem getting off beat was just, something he did on purpose to push the limits of the genre. He's like coming into the beat sideways and no, dude, he's fucking it up. It's not good.
Yeah, why do people bend themselves in half to make excuses for him? Yeah, you're right.
People can't see it. If you're listening to the podcast and not watching us on YouTube, I'm making the universally recognized sign for money.
Which I think it really just actually ends up summing up his whole career. He makes money and he prints money because every white kid in America is like, I can listen to this rap music and I hate my mom too. This is great.
It is an undeniable fact that someone decided to invest a lot of money in his career before there was ever any evidence that it would be a good idea to do that. He had not generated any significant attention upon himself. He had never done anything that would justify the financial investment that was made upon his career unless the people knew that their resources placed behind that guy right there Our resources can do the rest. If the dude himself later came out and said the shit sucked, I don't think there should be anyone out here trying to pretend it was genius, all right? Eminem couldn't flow on the beat, and he knew it, and you look like a fucking moron for trying to argue with us about it. So, take it back to fundamentals. What you need to do is just educate yourself and find a different argument to have. What you're gonna wanna do is go listen to Big Daddy Kane and imagine any era of Eminem as a rapper trying to flow over the same beats. Check out the song It's Hard Being the Kane with Prince Paul and listen to how Kane weaves all those different rhyme schemes together. Eminem doesn't want any part of that shit, all right? He would probably admit it if you asked him.
I mean, pretty much every other fucking mainstream rapper, fucking even Mace, even pop
Every
rap.
other white rapper had better flow. Jimmy Papa Bloodhound Gang was a better rapper than Eminem.
He can't wrap things up, so he just kind of stutters over some words at the end of the verse sometimes because he doesn't know how to actually bring it to a conclusion.
He leaves trailing syllables and then turns that into a different rhyme pattern, which is an impressive thing if you can pull it off. I would argue that he doesn't.
Can't.
Yeah, I don't think he pulls it off.
No.
Here's another fun fact. From the Marshall Mathers LP forward, several people involved with collaborating in the studio with Eminem said they often just wait for him to come up with some lyrics and then make a beat tailored to fit the lines he has already written. So, put these two facts together. Eminem saying he can't listen to his old shit because of how bad he is at staying on the beat. The producers saying that they just started coming up with the beats to fit the lyrics that he'd already written. Put those two facts together, we are talking about a guy who is objectively bad at rap. According to the rules of the game, this dude sucks. So everyone around him just starts coming up with a different set of rules that only apply for him.
Yeah, they're working backwards from the norm, which is creating an awesome beat that's going to go hard in the club and everyone's car drive. Oh, wait, we got to do Eminem. Okay, wait, he's going to send us some rapping and we got to build around it, which when he's rapping goofy, that's really, shout out to everyone that wrote a fucking beat for him. My God. That's got to be hard as fuck.
Yeah, do you want to do your job backwards today?
Right, exactly.
All right.
And you're like trying to figure out how you're going to fit it in there. You're like, well, fuck, he's off beat right there. Like, how am I going to do that?
If you've ever wondered, how did Eminem become so popular with people who, quote unquote, don't normally listen to rap? That's fucking how. They're still not listening to rap. They're listening to Eminem music, which is its own genre that he's the only one that's allowed to do because the only way that it exists is he writes lyrics and someone else fucking duct tapes some music together to go under it.
Eminem is kind of like the Taylor Swift of rap.
It's way worse than that, actually, because she can play an instrument and can just write the songs on her own from scratch. She's not a wordsmith on paper.
That's
She's
true.
like, here, do something with this.
Ugh, that's so true.
Just to make sure all the casuals can understand what we're saying right now, we have already covered the fact that it is embarrassing when a battle rapper is obviously trying to force pre-written lyrics into a beat that they have been delivered in a freestyle, right? It's cringy and awkward because the person is basically trying to cheat instead of the thing that everyone is supposed to do, which is be handed a beat and be able to rap on the beat. Rappers already have the advantage in the studio of here's the beat, you get to write some stuff to the beat. That's way fucking easier, right? Okay, imagine a guy can't do that. Imagine a guy can't do that. Take it back to the freestyle analogy. Imagine instead of a battle rapper trying to force pre-written lyrics into a beat they've been delivered, imagine if they got with the DJ ahead of time and were like, hey man, here's some lyrics that I wrote. Can you give me a beat that will sound cool with these lyrics? I am describing Eminem's career to you. That's way worse. It's way worse than just like trying to pretend that you're freestyling. I'm trying to pretend this is rap.
You got to know that like the producer and the engineer,
they get the call. Eminem wants some beats. Sick, dude. I have got so many beats that are going to go off in the club. He doesn't want those. Yeah. He doesn't want those at all.
Exactly. He's like, I have beats that are going to get everyone just fucking going crazy. Everyone's going to be dancing and have a good time.
Give him to fucking
anybody
50
else.
Cent. Give him to fucking anyone,
50
man.
50 Cent for sure. Oh, you have In the Club? Yeah, Eminem can't, he can't rap over that shit, dude. It's not his style. It has groove, Yeah, no.
This is why Eminem does not get played at the club. The producers didn't start coming up with a song that would get played in the club. They're not starting from the point of what will go off in the club. Guaranteed hit before anyone raps on it. Let's bring in a rapper. That's not what happens with Eminem, man. The beats on his songs are often extremely whack, and even many of his most famous stans have said this. Because I know all the losers are going to be in the comments talking about other rappers who've given props to Eminem, as if it is shocking that people in a business that involves so much collaboration between artists would pay compliments to the actual most commercially successful artist in history at that time.
Yeah,
they're going to call Eminem a great rapper, dude. They want to get the phone call.
I was gonna say, that's required. You have to say that. You won't get any phone calls. What's happening by this point is it's compounding so big. Everyone starts saying, oh, Eminem's so big. Eminem's so big. And so we have to work with Eminem. Oh, yeah. Eminem's the biggest rapper in the world, right? So we have to, I got to have Eminem on my CD. I got to have Eminem on my track. I got to try and get on the next Eminem thing.
Tyler, the Creator, has famously said that Eminem is one of, if not his favorite rapper, if not his single favorite rapper. Has also pointed out that Eminem, this is a direct quote, picks some of the worst beats ever, end quote. I don't know if Tyler knew about the fact that Eminem isn't picking these beats when he said that, by the way. Tyler probably thinks that the normal music business situation is what's happening. He probably thinks that producers are getting the phone call and showing Eminem everything they have, and Eminem is picking these terrible fucking tracks, but that's not what's happening.
Also, Mr. Creator.
Mr. Creator.
Mr. Creator. The mark of a good rapper, a good lyricist, is someone that could take just about any beat and turn it into something. Maybe it's not going to be great. Everything's not going to be great, but they can do it. I think the 100% that Eminem cannot do it. I would love to know how many of these people in their private lives go, fuck, this is so fucking bad. Why does that it happens.
We are definitely going to get to some of that in the next episode.
As they move, when somebody gets to the top of the fucking food, like Taylor Swift, nobody in pop music, whether or not they like her or not, is going to criticize her that much. Some will, but very few. But in private, they're roasting this guy, being like, oh, sweet, can't wait for another Eminem album.
Bad Tracks was a problem from the jump with all the circus music shit that was going on when he was just originally trying to surf the ICP wave. But it gets way worse on the Eminem show, and it gets even worse after that because Eminem began producing a lot more of his own stuff at this point, and his taste is, shall we say, questionable. I mean, considering the success of the Run DMC version of Walk This Way, sampling Aerosmith is probably one of the corniest things any rapper could do. Not only did Eminem do that, he chose to sample the song Dream On. Absolute corniest Aerosmith song you could have sampled, and it's one of the biggest singles from the Eminem show. Listen to the song Say Goodbye Hollywood. You should try to listen to the whole song, but listen to it specifically for the instrumentals and the song Say What You Say. Listen to Say Goodbye Hollywood and Say What You Say. Tell me those are not some of the worst instrumentals you've ever heard trying to listen to a rap song. Since Eminem is also trying to fuck with his flow as a MC over the beats that are already whack in the first place, a lot of Eminem show and a lot of everything going forward has this sort of herky-jerky feel to it. It's kind of white. It kind of sounds white. It feels like watching a white guy try to dance at a wedding. Is that racist? I don't care.
So awkward. Jesus.
And it's not a matter of Eminem pushing the envelope with his vocal delivery, like all of the fanboys are going to pile into the comments to say. He just sounds awkward. If you want to hear what it sounds like when rappers who can actually flow over jittery beats go hard, listen to the song Victory Laps by Doomstarks. This is MF Doom and Ghostface Killah. I mean, even if you're like, I like the weird beats, it's not as if Eminem is the only dude rapping over atypical tracks, man.
No, there's so much better. Honestly, Wu-Tang. Actually, a lot of Wu-Tang.
Anything that RZA
I was going to say, a lot of Wu-Tang stuff is kind of beat-wise. The ability to rap over those beats is insane. Eminem, if you stuck a fucking Wu-Tang Clan beat in front of him, would What would he do? His little tiny brain couldn't handle something like that.
I think if you were to give a typical Eminem show forward Eminem beat to Method Man or Redman or anyone like that style of rapper, A, they would probably ask if you had a better beat. But B, if you made them go over that, I think they could go.
No, they could do it. They could definitely do it. I don't think they would want to because it is not their approach to hip hop.
Busta Rhymes, dude, dial up some Busta Rhymes.
Shit.
Just listen to it.
God damn. I would actually love to hear Busta Rhymes over at Eminem because it would be way more entertaining and funny and good. I bet you Busta Rhymes could turn a fucking shitty Eminem beat into like an actual song.
Guarantee it.
That'd be actually kind of fun.
Anyway, the point is
Busta Rhymes do that.
Eminem's beats were pretty shitty from the jump. Then they got way worse because he's not rapping over music that was written to stand on its own. He's rapping on beats that were written to match his new and awkward flow patterns. And if you still can't hear it or want to deny it, on the very next album, check out the song called Like Toy Soldiers. This is one of his like most praised tracks, by the way. Everyone acts as though this is one of the best things that he ever did. I don't know what you're hearing that makes you think that, if you think that, but separate the vocal and just listen to the track under it. The only thing that the track is for much of the song is a single snare drum, and it's being played in a way to match his lyrics. Like normally you would record the drum part first and the rapper would rap over it. It is very obvious that's not what happened on this song because the drum is doing shit that it wouldn't do if it was serving the purpose of a drum. It's not serving the purpose of a drum. It's serving the purpose of Eminem's existence as a rapper.
He's not following the beat. The beat is following him.
Okay, so what is so wild about the album, The Eminem Show, and the reason we have spent so much time talking about it in this episode, aside from it being such a musically chaotic album and this sort of pivot point in his career, this was the album that he dropped to coincide with the movie 8 Mile. Here's where we finally get to my favorite thing that we're going to talk about in the entire series of episodes on Eminem. As far as I'm concerned, everything after we talk about this is just bonus content. We've laid out in many previous episodes the undeniable fact that hit songs from major movies do not count. Just think about every stupid fucking song that was a gigantic hit in your lifetime only because it was on the soundtrack of some movie. And obviously this is going to be like pre-2005.
Oh my God, there's so many.
Songs on the Charlie's Angels movie, the songs
Titanic, there's so many
songs that would not be a hit except they are a part of the marketing campaign for a movie. What's interesting about 8 Mile is it's essentially a marketing campaign for a rapper. The movie itself is a marketing campaign for a rapper. So the marketing campaign for the movie blows up the movie, huge hit, which serves the purpose of on a deeper level, marketing this rapper over here. That's a pretty interesting situation. However, the fact is the musical hit from this movie just doesn't fucking count. And this is because of the marketing budgets and the corporate tie-ins and everything that happens when you're promoting a movie versus the resources that get put to work promoting a normal song or a normal album.
Right.
So yeah, the song Lose Yourself was a hit. Of course it was. Wild Wild West was also a hit. Who gives a fuck?
Which arguably was a way better song.
At least it was a better song.
Fucking way more enjoyable.
So glad you said that.
I think if you put them to young folk that have never heard both those songs, they're going to choose Wild Wild West all day. Lose Yourself in the Music, which was obviously massive because the movie was popular. Let's be honest with ourselves for 5 fucking seconds. That song is terrible. It's bad. So fucking embarrassingly bad. Who thinks that's good? If somebody else did that, anybody else put that song out, this is the most white boy rap bullshit I've ever heard in my life. Lose yourself in the music, the moment you own it. It's like, what the fuck,
It also kind of got turned into a meme with the whole Mom Spaghetti thing.
Yes, Mom Spaghetti.
And that verse is the only thing that anyone really remembers from the song. A lot of people will start rapping it like they know the lyrics, and that shit tails off real fast.
The truth is, if Nas made that song, it would end his career.
Everyone would be like, dude, what?
If Jay-Z made that song, it would end his career. Anybody else made that song.
And should.
Yes. It would end their career.
But it was the peak of this marketing campaign, man. Like the
100%.
whole strategy was building to this point. I mean, I'm sure they didn't know it when they made Slim Shady LP that they were eventually going to do a movie like this. All of the pivots brought them to this point.
Yeah.
And it fucking worked, man. There was like 2 years where you could not escape Eminem as an artist. Everyone just like had to agree that he was the greatest thing that had ever happened. Okay, so I want to ask you a question that I know you don't know the answer to because nobody...
You'll be shocked.
Apparently nobody knows the answer to this. And
I know a lot of answers.
I think that a huge deal would be made about this if anyone else had realized the significance of it.
What's that?
Between the album Eminem Show and the movie 8 Mile, what would you say has had a more lasting cultural impact? What do you see or hear referenced more often?
The movie or the album?
Anything about Eminem Show, any song off Eminem Show or the album itself versus 8 Mile and the song Lose Yourself. What gets referenced more often? I'm going to get another beer while you think about this. Do you want a beer?
Yeah, sure. I'm thinking. Let me think. Not really. I think I have an answer. Don't shake it up. I'm watching you. Are you shaking up my beer?
All right. What's the answer? What are people talking about more?
I would say people talk about 8 Mile.
Exponentially more popular than the Eminem Show, right?
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. I would say without 8 Mile, none of this. Well, I mean, this episode could probably still happen, but the career arc goes off a cliff without 8 Mile. It just does. So the movie carries a lot of weight. You had to go to the fucking movie theater to see movies back then. There was no Netflix. There was no streaming. It did not exist.
Much like what we said about MTV,
Right.
There wasn't a lot of programming for your demographic. I mean, this was the only movie about a rapper that came out that year, you know? So like, if you listen to rap, you're going to go see this fucking movie.
I don't think anybody would give a flying fuck about 8 Mile or any movie like it if it came out now, because we live in a sea of content and a sea of things to capture your attention.
Plus Hustle and Flow exists now.
Oh, dude. Oh, Jesus Christ. What a great movie. Now I want to go back and watch that again. Although Terrence Howard has lost his mind.
Did he ever have it? Do we have evidence that he ever had it?
I don't know.
I don't know that we have evidence that he ever had it. I have not seen the evidence. I would like to see it.
Hustle and Flow is great. 3-6 Mafia forever.
All right. Before I ask you a follow-up question, I want to remind everyone of the situation with Eminem in the year 2002 when the movie 8 Mile came out. Up to this point, his only real hits were the Slim Shady novelty songs. We've covered this thoroughly. None of his attempts to get serious broke through to the mainstream. It was just critics writing reviews and the hardcore Eminem fans who were listening to the whole albums and, you know, taking it too seriously. These were the only people sucking his dick for the song Stan and whatever other serious shit he tried to do. Everyone else just thought of this guy as a clown. He reminded them of the class clown in their school. I guarantee you when Eminem got popular, there were so many people telling their class clown that he should try to be a rapper too. All right? That kind of thing. So here comes a movie that flips the narrative on its head. And it gives Eminem this backstory of being some kind of elite battle rapper, which we've debunked already. This elite battle rapper who doesn't need to play the court jester. He's only doing it as an artistic decision, right? And it totally fucking works. The movie is a success in changing the way everyone views Eminem. The song from a movie becomes a huge hit song. Everyone takes this guy serious now. They love him now. Now he's the best rapper ever. The soundtrack sells 3.5 million copies by the end of the year. The soundtrack to the movie sells 3.5 million copies. How many of those same people do you think bought the Eminem Show?
I fucking have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know.
Do you think it's more or less? More people buy the album than the soundtrack?
No, probably more people bought the soundtrack.
Wrong.
Really?
Way more people bought the album.
No shit. Wow.
All right.
That's real.
This is my favorite thing.
This is my real reaction.
3.5 million copies of the 8 Mile soundtrack sold by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the year, same year, 7.6 million copies of the Eminem Show. All these people All these people who never gave a fuck just found out that this guy is a genius rapper. He's the best rapper ever. So they're going to be serious fans of this rapper. They don't want to buy a movie soundtrack, man. They're not a poser.
Right.
They're going to go buy his new shit. They listen to the albums, bro.
Yeah.
They listen to the Eminem show, bro.
Yeah.
They put this shit in their CD player, bro, and find out that it is a train wreck. Virtually unlistenable. A fucking tragedy of an album. Can you imagine how many of these idiots sat there convincing themselves that Cleaning Out My Closet and fucking Square Dance, the new genius shit from the greatest rapper ever?
I just love the idea that 7 million people bought that album and were like, what the fuck? Especially if you thought, like, if you watched 8 Mile and now all of a sudden you're a fucking Eminem fan, you're like, oh shit, this is so good.
Okay, think about this too. There was that 2-year period where Eminem was on top of the world. What have you seen him do since then? Honestly, it's only been him attached to something that was happening for someone else, or like him as a part of someone else's show.
Yeah.
Sure, Rap God, sure, Godzilla. But it's like nowhere the same thing. Like he's up here with 8 Mile. And then the level of freak out that there was over Rap God or Godzilla is in the basement of the house that we're sitting in right now. It's not close.
Post this, which we'll talk about in future, next episode, whatever. But like it starts to decline pretty heavily and his ability to make music somehow gets worse. And that's really fucking saying something.
I think he fell off in the same way that Marilyn Manson fell off after this. And I think it's because of how much of a shit show the Eminem show is.
Right.
He crossed over to an audience that does care about music, and they thought because of this movie, oh, I haven't been paying attention to this guy the right way. I thought he was just a class clown. It must be deeper than that. And then they go buy the Eminem show. Twice as many of them as buy the movie soundtrack go buy the Eminem show. It's a different audience than he had dealt with before. This is not people who were hardcore fans and thought he was a genius already. This is new people. And then they listen to this album and they're like, well, fuck this guy.
Cleaning out my closet. What the fuck?
If you've ever wondered how this dude seemed to be on top of the entire world 1 minute and then all that momentum was just gone, I think this album is why. And it certainly didn't help that he got fucked up on drugs right after this and started making very bad music, essentially on purpose, as he has stated. But after hooking them with 8 Mile and then they go buy the Eminem show and hear it, in order to win everyone back from that, he would have had to make the actual best rap album of all time. You would have had to come out with The Chronic all over again somehow.
Right. Sure. Which he was self-producing at that point, and that wasn't going to happen. I do wonder if there is something to that quick music business thought. Maybe artists should never actually produce their own stuff because you need somebody in the studio to be like, no, that's trash.
It depends on what you were first. If you were a producer first
sure,
and then you become an artist, obviously do it. If you're an artist and decide I can do that, you can't.
There's a real danger in becoming too big of an artist. You're surrounded by yes people. No one's going to tell you that it's bad. You're self-producing. It's just a recipe for fucking disaster.
Which is exactly what happens next.
Yes. When was the last time you saw 8 Mile? Did you watch it for this?
No. I've also never seen it all the way through. When everyone was talking about it, I gave it a shot, but no. I mean, Some Kind of Monster, completely opposite situation.
Yeah, I know.
I pressed play on that and was riveted the entire time.
Yeah, that's so different. And it's also like the dramatization of everything. You're like, is this real? Is this really how things happened? That rap battle, which we know was obviously extremely exaggerated.
B-Rabbit, man, B-Rabbit. Dude, how many people bought the Eminem show or like, where the fuck is B-Rabbit at? I want to hear some more Mom Spaghetti, man.
What a fucking... I already felt a certain way when we started doing this episode. And now that we've
These episodes, you mean?
Yes, we've gone through this artist, I should say, through all these episodes. I feel like my position on Eminem has somehow just gotten worse and worse as we've progressed through this. I'm just like, yeah, Eminem sucks. By the end of this, I'm going to be like, no, fuck Eminem. He's fucking trash.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically where I'm at now. I don't know what it's going to be like next episode.
When we decided that we were going to do an Eminem episode, it was less than a week later where I said to Mark, I don't think we can just do an Eminem episode, man. Like, there's a lot here that I don't see anyone else talking about ever and have never seen anyone else talk about. There's a lot that has been unaddressed.
This is a true Eminem deep dive.
And the reason that is necessary is because if Eminem is your favorite band,
your favorite band sucks.
Y'all know what I'm going to say, right? You're welcome for listening to Your Favorite Band Sucks. Man, every episode in this series just gets worse and worse for your boy Slim, huh? Absolutely, the stands are going to be out in full force on this one. After pointing out that Eminem is legit not even a good rapper. Look, like we said at the very beginning of this episode, there's just no way to predict all of the intentionally or unintentionally obtuse ways fans are going to try to argue about everything we've said. But we've been doing this long enough to where we can call out at least a few of them in advance. I expect a ton of dum-dums are going to hear us talking about the way Eminem needs to have beats tailor-made for his stupid-ass rhyme patterns, and start yelling about how we're so stupid we think rappers can only write lyrics after they've been given a beat to put them to. Of course, rappers write lyrics without having beats all the time. If you think a rapper writing some lyrics and then waiting to hear a great beat the lyrics will go with is the same thing as Eminem saying, here, I wrote this trash. Come up with some quote-unquote music from scratch that only makes sense under my awkward flow, some bullshit you'd never write for any other reason. It's not surprising that you think Eminem is a great rapper. While we're on the subject, that part in this episode where Mark and I were joking around about 50 Cent getting a beat after Eminem didn't know what to do with it, not a joke, that happened. Eminem was executive producer on both of the D12 albums. After Devil's Night, they were working on a follow-up, and Dr. Dre gave them the tracks to In the Club. D12 could not figure out what to do with it. Repeat. The tracks from In the Club, an undeniable banger, were given to D12 first. They did not know what to do with it, so Dr. Dre gave the beats to 50 Cent, who was like, oh, okay, got it. You mean like this? The rest is history. All right, all the stuff we said in the previous episode about the financial reasons and timing of why Interscope Records would be looking around for a controversial white rapper when they found out about Eminem, who they could at least pretend was a controversial white rapper even though nobody really cared. All that stuff we said in this episode about the timeline of Marilyn Manson's career arc in relation to Eminem getting signed. Guess what record label Marilyn Manson was on? That's right, youngins, it was Interscope. All the pieces in this series of episodes should be starting to fit together for you in such perfect, tidy little ways. Obviously, a lot of Eminem fans are going to be super pissed at us for saying 8 Mile was the only movie that came out that year about a rapper. I realize you guys are very invested in the careers of your favorite rappers, especially the white ones, and that includes whenever they get cast to star in a Hollywood movie. But it is important to pay attention to the date when things actually happened. Before you start yelling at us, just go check your facts, because 8 Mile came out in 2002, and Malibu's Most Wanted didn't come out until 2003. So sorry, you're just wrong, sorry. Lastly, we know Nas said in Ether that Eminem murdered Jay-Z on Jay-Z's own album. This is just like the Stan thing, though. It's pretty impossible to ignore that Nas meant that as an insult to Jay-Z. He wasn't just throwing a 5-star review at Eminem into the middle of a diss track for no reason. He was trying to say shit that would fuck with Jay-Z. You'd have to be a moron to think making fun of another rapper by saying he's worse than the white boy is some kind of argument for the white boy being the greatest rapper of all time. Same thing with Snoop saying the same thing about Eminem outdoing Jay-Z on Renegade. But we'll get to Snoop Dogg in the next episode. You see what I did there? Okay, that's it. Come back next week when we put this whole series to bed with Eminem Sucks Part 4.